If we go back to City, so well done to Arsenal for that win, and
Yes.
it was, in a way, like a little miracle, really, when you think that they were still trailing with 5 minutes to go in the game. And as we said before, that could go a long way in this title race. For City, can you talk to me about Phil Foden? Because, okay, I'm a big Riyad Mahrez fan. He's my guy.
Yeah.
I really didn't expect him to be dropped for that
yeah.
game. What happens in the Phil Foden chance with Haaland? Is he caught in between going for himself? Because suddenly me watching the game, I was like, okay, it's pretty obvious that you have to square it.
Yeah.
Okay. And it seems that he's a bit torn in between. Do I square it to Haaland, who he can clearly see and he's probably calling him?
Yeah.
Or do I go for it and in the end you do neither, you fall over and it's a ridiculous, humiliating.
So that moment looked ridiculous. I think the running behind and all that stuff was great. I think overall he had a good game. But in that moment there, I think for me, you can see the fact that he's not been playing week in, week out recently. Like he had some time away. And there was a bit of rust in decision making, like the way the mind works when you're doing it all the time versus when you're just back in. Because he knows that, like, I should probably pass this to Haaland. But he takes half a second too long. And it's like a tiny bobble. And now he's chasing his touch, trying to play the ball. If you are fully locked in and know exactly what you want to do from the get-go, you just do it.
Yeah.
If he's running through, he wants to take a shot, he would have shot. If he's running through knowing he needs to make the pass, he would have made the pass earlier. But instead, he's had a moment of indecision and he's been punished by that it wasn't the worst touch in the world, but it was a touch that meant that he couldn't lay on a good quality ball. And the decision itself to pass wasn't necessarily the wrong one, but the timing of it can make such a big difference. And it's a shame for him because he seems like somebody who needs to climb back in terms of his confidence.
Yeah, definitely.
And he's going to look back at that, especially given the fact that the team's now drawn, and know that was probably going to be City's clearest opportunity in the whole game. He's basically 2v1 with a goalkeeper, and there wasn't even a shot that was registered. It's the easiest miss in the world to forget about because they didn't have a shot, And it's a shame that he's in that spot, and I'm sure Mahrez and other players who were on a cycle.
I think I looked it up this morning. He only started 3 games since the restart after the World Cup.
Do you know what? I don't know. I'd heard that he maybe had 1 or 2 issues away from the field, which started to affect him on the field because his general play had become quite poor for how high his standards are. But that was coinciding with Grealish playing better, with Mahrez playing better. So I'm sure that didn't help because he didn't have a continuous flow of games to try and rectify the situation. And he went away and then he was out of a few squads as well. And it was weird because he was playing at the World Cup for England. He was one of the better players for England at the World Cup. But then something's been missing. And I hope that, from a rehabilitation standpoint, whether it's physical, mental and so on, he's in a better spot now because if City are to be successful, they will need him because in that first half of the season, he was exceptional. He was City's second top goal scorer behind Haaland. So I think he's coming back into it. I think there were positive signs there yesterday or a couple of days ago in how he played against Forest. But I'm sure because he's very driven. He's very, very driven. Like that decision will be made a lot earlier the next time he's running through like that. And it wouldn't surprise me if it led to a goal. That won't happen. It's too good for that to happen again. And also, just to mention, one thing about him, Haaland and the like, I think we analyse their play and we're very critical of them. And it's also easy to forget they're 22 because they're so good already.
True.
You know what I mean? So when Phil Foden's out of form, it's like, what's happening? But then if it was another 22-year-old that like fell out of form for a little bit, you'd be like,
my boy Mahrez would have made that square pass.
Yeah, of course he would. But unfortunately, you got your is it nil point? Nil point fantasy football?
Philip, I'm sorry, but that's what I would say.
No point fantasy football.
Riyad Mahrez should play every day.
No point fantasy football.
No point fantasy football. That's true. That is true. As painful as it is, it's true.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.